is an independent board that looks over the committee. Need to go back to a simpler name of ethics. That to me just shows how unclear everything is. And then whatever is passed needs to be very, very clear. The problem that you can receive $100 every day, but once a day, but this, that. I mean, there's too many loopholes even within the long named-based organization as itself. It just needs to be simpler, and it needs to be more transparent in my eyes. So I think a lot needs to be done to it. Now, the conviction part of it, I think it needs to be very stringent. If you are found guilty of breach of the ethics committee, then it doesn't need to be a slap on the wrist. It needs to be something stronger, since our district and citizens are relying on us to be their voice, and that's not what's happening.
All right. Mr. Neesmith, question to you.
I think we should all just come right out and talk about what it is that Governor Deal is in the middle of. A lot of talk about ethics reform and transparency. And let's see, he took the committee, I think it was 26, down to 9, something like that. I'm a little fuzzy on all of it because as I read it, it just, one thing after another. But, while he's pushing for this legislation for us to go out and be more transparent, more ethical, I suppose, he's taking money into his PAC and not reporting it. They're changing rules surreptitiously, secretly, that if you bring a complaint, you have to pay the governor's fees if his appointed board doesn't agree with you. Now, I don't see how that's not fair, right? Certainly. That's pretty low. That's pretty obvious that we have a problem from the top down. That they can put this charade on in front of all of us, and we're going to actually pretend to have a conversation about ethics. We got a much bigger problem. I mean, this is just downright dishonest, and it flies in the face of everything that's decent and moral. So, let's have some real stringent, real simple rules. You abide by them or you don't play. Easy as that.
All right. Chance for either of you to rebut
On the question?
on his answers. Pass. Perhaps
He can have his
wise.
opinion.
Ms. Lodi, question to you.
While we're discussing partisan politics, we've seen partisan politics at the federal level, and obviously we're in the midst of the fallout of that. Beyond promises to reach across the aisle and work with members of the other party, what specifically would you do to work with members of the Republican Party or members of the Democratic Party at the state level to accomplish what needs to be accomplished for our district and our state?
Mr. Lawford's question to you.
Thanks. Well, I think that's part of the culture that has to be bred, and definition of a leader is having people following you, and that goes to working with individuals that disagree with you. Also, in my company, I'll have to make a decision that not everybody's going to like or want to agree with, but if I can address it the right way, and I can show them that it's prosperous for not only them but for the health of the company, i.e. the government, then they're going to follow and go in that way. Now, when it's coming to like a stalemate in Washington, that I'm sure that's what you're referring to, that's pathetic up there. And I use that not cautiously, because you have no leadership when you can't get anything done. This wasn't done on the first. This was done well before that. There's an agenda that was brought to the table, and it's sad to see that because you can't communicate with each other, a lot of Americans have to suffer. And we close down monuments and stuff like that should never have been taken away from the American people, especially veterans that fought for those. So it's about the culture, and it's about the person and the leader that steps into that role.
Okay. Question to Mr. Neesmith.
You know, I went down last Tuesday night to Holly Springs and spoke with the Tea Party folks down there, and lo and behold, guess what? They're people too. No magic there. We all got to eat. We all like our homes. We all maybe like cutting the grass. I don't know, but the idea is that we're all people and pretty much want the same things. Now we may disagree, but if you can have a conversation, which it turns out it's not that hard to do. It really isn't. It's just a matter of everybody breathe, think, talk for a second. It wasn't hard to do. I was able to express my point of view there. And you might say that, this is a hostile territory, but really, no, it's not. I mean, we all live in the same community. And this is me who went up and with respect saying, I believe we would do better to do this. And that's me holding that opinion and being respectful of their opinion. I'm not going to deride anybody's opinion. You can believe how you like. Now, I'm going to trade in the facts that I understand best. And if you don't agree with me and I can't convince you, that doesn't mean I respect you any less. It means that I still want you to see it my way, of course. But a spirited debate, not some foaming at the mouth type argument, is probably going to be the most helpful thing.
All right. And the question to Mr. Pullen.
Well, God gives us all gifts and talents. And one of the talents that He's given me is the ability to talk to people and to work with people. Many times as an administrator, I had an upset parent in my office. Once I could convince that parent that I truly cared about their child and that I thought I was doing what was in that child's best interest, we could find mutual ground. Now, they didn't always leave being my best friend, but they usually left being willing to talk to me and try to work to find solutions to our problems. We have to work, we're going to have to reach across the aisle and find solutions to our problems. But our biggest problem reaching across the aisle today is people have lost their common sense. Where is common sense in Washington today? My personal hero as far as a president in my lifetime was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan had the ability to reach across the aisle, and he didn't care who got credit for it. Now, polar opposite to Ronald Reagan was Bill Clinton, and he was just as effective communicator, reached across the aisle just as well. Why can't our leaders today take lessons from those two and work with each other instead of causing problems and always trying to blame the other side? It really doesn't matter who gets credit for it as long as you get the job done.
All right. Perhaps we could have fit that DC reference in with the mental health question earlier.
Maybe that's where we're sending our mental health people.
They're getting all the resources. All right, Mr. Garcia, it is your question.
Thank you. What more can be done to promote economic development in this district?
Mr. Pullen, you begin.
Well, as I mentioned, we need to make sure that we're producing quality graduates from our school system so that homegrown companies that were mentioned, our companies that are trying to relocate, will have quality individuals to perform the tasks that they need to perform. If we're producing those quality graduates, we'll get quality jobs. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to look at impediments. We need to find out what's being done to keep industry from coming in or keep them from prospering. A wonderful community will attract wonderful business and industry. We need good parks and recreation. We need good mental health. We need good health facilities in general. All of those things will bring the business and industry that we're all talking about that we need. Everything works together, and we just have to be sure that we make all the puzzle pieces fit together and work properly.
All right, question to Mr. Neesmith.
He talks about impediments, and I'm inclined to agree. There are some things that are impediments. At Daresville a few months ago, I think, back in January, y'all remember we had a tornado. I happened to be at the doctor's office, ran right by me. It's the craziest thing. And, you know, other than the fact that it was a spectacular thing to have seen and a frightening thing, I guess, what was left is, you know, a lot of people came together and tried to put the community back together. Now, what we found was that some of those businesses weren't going to come back, and maybe by design, because, you know, fees that are attached to the business license and the rebuilding permits and so forth stood in the way. You know, those are things that are impediments. Someone coming in and regulating a business and saying, are you keeping it safe because you're storing these materials? That's not an impediment. And if it is, we're holding them to a low standard. And you could point to the plant at West Texas that blew up. I think that we would all agree better regulation there would have saved some lives. So we need to, you know, sit down and look at those things. What is valuable and what is really just, you know, something that's hurting us. And more than that too, let's be honest, we need, you know, we're a consumer culture. So we need jobs that promote people's ability to spend. And that's going to help us all grow. That will bring jobs.
Thank you. Question of business development to you, Mr. Loffridge.
Thank you. One thing we have to do is make sure we have an open door, and we need to make the ground fertile for businesses to come here. That's such as creating opportunities for people, such as putting tires on a vehicle, to being in management, to having the ability to step up and grow from a small $8 an hour job to a larger $30 an hour job to a career path. So there isn't one simple answer. What it is a tie-in of effects from everything from a transportation, education structure that'll make the ease of living and the ability to want to come to the area advantageous for the economic development of this area. And what's going to happen there is we're going to have more companies come here, other than what happened recently with Amazon going to South Carolina. People weren't paying attention because they wanted a certain ease of living for their employees, but they couldn't find it here. It wasn't about just taxation, it wasn't just about education, it was also about the infrastructure of how they could commute to their work. And that's something that South Carolina could provide for them.
Okay. Next question to you, Ms. Johnston.
Thank you. How would you, as a state legislator, work more effectively with the other county elected officials?
Mr. Neesmith, that would be to you. Now, first, are you referencing, for Mr. Neesmith, that would be Bartow County?
Yes,
Okay.
they can talk about their own counties.
Okay,
They can work with all of them, really, because
right.
We're talking, your question you're getting at is at Cobb, Cherokee, Bartow, how would
Right.
you work with
Right
those
now,
elected
there
officials?
are meetings with the legislative delegation, that type of thing. Would you continue that? How better could those relationships be built?
Go ahead, Mr. Neesmith.
Well, I think at, you know, at any point when that familiarity is gonna, you know, that's gonna encourage the cooperation. So certainly, you know, you wanna get out, you're gonna be wise to go out and meet them, get to know them, learn where they stand. They need to learn that about you. I think that if you just stand on a position and you're not willing to bend on it, well, you know, why waste your time? If you're going to go out and listen to them and learn a little something, you might understand why they stand where they stand. So you're going to have to engage that community. And the way our district is structured, with 3 counties, you know, there's going to be a lot of sort of different positions that each city, each community, each county are going to take, and you're going to have to contend with that. And you're going to have to represent all those views in one form or fashion. So I think it will be vital to get in there and you know, talk to them. And like I said, I'll talk to anybody. I love the sound of my own voice, and I'll go all day. But I also like to hear what they have to say too, and I like to hear why. Because you know, there are times when but it never occurred to me to think like that. And, you know, broaden your horizons by, you know, barricading yourself inside a position. You go out and you try to learn more, and you come to hopefully a conclusion that is in the best interest of all Georgians.
All right. Thank you. Question of working with other politicians within the county and district to you, Mr. Loffridge.
Well, you know, I would meet with them, and speak with them openly and honestly, and make sure that they understood where my position was. But also, there's a reality that a lot of people move around, and they don't just stay in the district. So a lot of what happens, not in this district, but in other districts, not just the representatives in this district also. So, you know, for Bartow County, you have Paul Battles and you have Coomer as well. You need to work well with them within your own district and county, but you also have other set of House representatives in your district too. So if you try to play at odds, then you're going to become a stalemate like you have in DC, rather than working with them openly and honestly. So they need to know where you stand, and you need to know where they stand at the same time.
Okay. Question of working with others within the district and county to you, Mr. Pullen.
Well, I would keep the political forums where we have an opportunity to meet with local leaders and they have an opportunity to sit down, maybe have a meal with us, let us know what they're thinking, what their needs are, what their desires for, you know, that we can do to help their particular area, which would in turn help the district. I want to be accessible to each and every elected official. You know, our elected officials are impacted so much by what's done in Atlanta. You know, sometimes we take care of things and it sounds good. Recently, the governor saved us, I believe it was $12 million by closing a prison in annual budget. What no one failed to mention is that those prisoners were sent to local jails, and the sheriff's department and the local counties now are picking up the tab for them, or at least half the tab, because the state only pays about half. So, you know, in a sense, what we did is we shifted the burden to our local property owners, because the millage rate is what's taking care of those prisoners now. So, you know, we've got to be careful about unfunded mandates. We need to communicate with the people that our legislation is affecting. For example, if we have a piece of legislation related to education, why not contact school superintendents?
All right. Moving along to next question.
While we're discussing the fact that there are portions of 3 counties in this district, do you believe it is the job of the state representative to secure funding for local projects? How would you determine which projects in the district receive funding?
For this question, we begin with Mr. Lawfridge.
I think that's how I answered the last question of open and honesty, knowing where we all work together. There's got to be that priority list of working with the constituents of the district also. So it's not just the representatives, and it's not just the next district over as well. As long as you work with the representatives, you're going to have a great idea of what the constituents want on the priority list of what we're going to fund next. But you have to have that open door accessibility so that you get a good feeling from the district of what do they want to see. And if you're transparent and clear with them, then they're going to be the same to you.
Same question to you, Mr. Pullen.
Well, you know, fortunately, the Georgia Constitution requires us to have a balanced budget. So, you know, we can't just put pork in to bring home to our communities and that be done all over the state, and then go borrow 40 cents for every dollar we spend from China. You know, we don't have that luxury. I wish our federal government didn't have that luxury. But with that in mind, we want to bring home as much as we can. And so we're going to have to just work with other legislatures, because they're going to be doing the same thing. Hopefully, we'll all work together to try to see the big picture and the needs of the state when we're looking at the state dollar priorities. But, you know, we need to have our priorities developed at the local level. That goes back to our last question of working with our elected officials. If we're trying to bring some projects home to our district, we need to know which of those projects are most important to the district. You know, we need to have those prioritized, so when we get in the give and take situation, we'll know which ones to give up first. So, you know, I think there again, we just need to be working with everyone, trying to have a team effort and trying to understand what we need to bring home for this district. and what the state can afford to let us bring to the district.
Thank you. Question to you, Mr. Neesmith.
I would say that, when looking at anything you want, of course you want in your area. I mean, in our little town of Adairsville, we were all disappointed when Cabela's didn't come. It happens, and you want, that kind of commerce coming through. You want your area to grow. You want that boost that comes with it, and sometimes it's meant to be, sometimes it's not. So as far as any sort of, projects that may make their way here, one, do they fit the bill? You got to be honest with yourself, and go, is this really a good decision? What are we sacrificing to get it here versus say there? Is this a good project? Is it a priority? You have to use your better judgment. On a personal level, that's what you would hope you would do. I don't think that fighting for a project just to get a little love from your constituents at home is going to do you a whole lot of good. We saw what that did to transportation throughout Atlanta. They fought it piecemeal, and look where we're at now. We missed any opportunities we may have had for a legitimate shot at, a useful rail system. I don't think that, it's almost impossible at this point for that to even be the case. I don't even know how you plan something that expensive anymore. It would be a permanent burden, a debt, a tax basically we'd have to pay for it. So, you look at the feasibility of it, and does it belong with us? You better believe I'm going to fight for it. And if it doesn't, I'm going to support it where it should go.
Thank you. Next question to you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Are any of you guys in favor of eliminating the state tax, and why or why not? And if so, what else can be done to recoup that money, if anything?
State income tax to you, Mr. Pullen.
Was it income tax?
He
I
said
just
state.
want to clarify that.
Yes, Georgia's state
Yeah.
income tax.
Okay.
For or against?
I would want to know what we're going to replace it with. If we're looking at some sort of consumption tax, I could support that. But the bottom line is it takes X number of dollars to run the state. If we don't get it from income tax, we're going to get it from sales tax or property tax or somewhere. Personally, I think consumption tax is more fair, so I would be in favor of that. But if you look at surrounding states that do not have the income tax, their sales tax is usually higher, their property tax is definitely higher. So, the money's got to come in from somewhere. We just have to make sure that we're not wasting the taxpayers' money, try to cut out the waste, and then try to streamline the process. But there again, it would depend on what our options are as far as replacing the sales tax, the income tax.
Thank you, Mr. Pullen. Question of Georgia state income tax to you, Mr. Neesmith.
There is a bill, I think it's HB 688. I need to figure on there. I think it's 688. The proposal is that we would scrap the income tax and go with a 14.5% they project sales tax. I don't believe it would apply. There are some measures in the Senate that I think, play with this idea a little bit. Some would apply to food, some would not. But all that aside, let's just be honest, it's a terrible idea. A sales tax is a regressive tax. It's the kind of tax that falls disproportionately on the lowest income earners. 80% of Georgians would see a tax increase with that. And that's the bottom 80%, not the top, so we're clear. And what are you going to do? You live an hour from Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, say you're in Augusta. Where are you going to buy a computer? Here? So you can go pay $150 extra when you buy that $1,000 computer. Take your butt across the line. I know I would. You live in Valdosta, you're going to Florida. So now we're going to lose money. We're going to lose sales if we try to depend on this. And then it goes one better. It doesn't help business, by the way, because now the cost of business has gone up. The cost of goods, supplies and these raw materials can go up. People are going to purchase elsewhere. So in the long run, it's a very bad idea to replace it with a sales tax.
Thank you. Question of Georgia state income tax to you, Mr. Loffridge.
I think we have an opportunity to get rid of it. I don't think it's necessary right now to go straight to that. I think we can go to a fair tax first and make it lower. The next thing, though, we have to realize is if we're going to be advantageous in the framework of economic development, we need to get on the same platform as other states, bringing in those businesses too. So with that being said, I think we have a lot of opportunities to audit what we're currently doing, and we're not doing that now. We have a better use of the taxes that's currently coming in, but with the state income tax, I think we can get rid of it and make sure we can bring in more businesses and people to come into the community and live, and make that a better place to want to come to Georgia.
For those of you who would be in favor of at least some reduction in Georgia state income tax, some other states with less or no state income tax have replaced that with some, in some cases, higher taxes on vices, cigarettes, tobacco products, alcohol, things like that. Would any of you be in favor of something like that? Whoever.
You know, we lived in Oregon for a while. Now, Oregon has a pretty high state income tax. So there's a different tax system there. What you found was that on the whole, it was a great deal more equitable. And it's pretty simple math, guys. If you make $100,000 a year, you're only going to buy so much. Now, you might buy $100,000 worth of stuff, but you're taken care of. If you make $30,000 a year in a family of four, you're pinching pennies. That's a huge tax increase for you. Everybody says it's fair. Well, maybe fair is a percentage, sure, of everybody's income. That's conceivably fair. Even then, though, what good is it doing is these people aren't consuming as much. This hurts the very foundation of our economy. This is what we have, what is roughly a 70% consumer economy. And we're taking money out of the hands of people who are going to spend it the most. Those who make the least amount of money are going to spend all the money that they make. And those who make the most money are going to be able to put away some of that money. It's not going right back into the economy. There's a reason things like SNAP, food stamps, considered a boost to the economy, because we get a return on those. And we may not like that we have to do that, but that money gets spent and it boosts the economy. So, you know, you want the sales tax, you're going to lose business, and it's going to fall hardest on those who make the least.
Mr. Lawford's chance for rebuttal.
Yeah, the reality is that that's a status quo mentality. What we need to do is we need to boost the economy, and to boost it, we have to bring better skilled jobs in. We got to make it advantageous for the jobs that come in here. Now, whether we go to a vice tax for cigarettes or alcohol, or even more on gas, that's a totally different subject. But to just stay status quo about the state income tax, we have to look at a better picture that if we're going to live life where everyone stays on $8 an hour, then that's not quality of life either. Then you are going to get a boost with the SNAP and EBT because that money's going back in. What we have to do is get to a point where it's a stepping stone and bring the skilled labor jobs into the community. And with that, we have to be progressive, and we have to be aggressive in doing that, making this area fertile for those businesses to come here and for small businesses to thrive in this endeavor, in this area too. So I think that's going to answer that question.
Okay. Mr. Pullen, a statement on a vice tax or potential for rebuttal to either of these other gentlemen's responses?
Well, you know, we talk about sometimes that taxes, you know, harm some groups more than others. I think the vice tax probably harms our lower income families probably more than it would the upper income families. So, you know, I would try to avoid that as much as possible. The gasoline tax, you know, most people don't realize this, but I read a statistic the other day that the federal government gets more money per gallon of gasoline in taxes than the oil company makes off of the gallon of gasoline. So, you know, are we going to tax gasoline even more? You know, and I know that's what we used to pay for our roads with. So, you know, all of those things have to be considered. There are no easy answers. If there were easy answers, we'd already have taken care of it.
All right, thank you. We're going with Ms. Rebecca Johnston. She'll be asking the final question, and then we'll have a chance for the candidates, you gentlemen, to ask each other questions if you care to. Ms. Johnston.
Thank you. The voters in this area, the metro region, said a loud no to a 1-cent sales tax to help with transportation in the last election. What do we need to do to address the transportation needs of the metro region, and how would that be funded?
For the order for the final question, we'll go like we did at the beginning, Mr. Loffridge, and Mr. Pullen, and then Mr. Niesman.
Right.
Mr.
So,
Loffridge, it's to you.
yeah, so about the T-Splosh, most of the people said no, A, because of the tax increase, but also there's no sunset. So every time, anytime an additional tax comes in, there needs to be a sunset addressed to it. Also, there needs to be a 30-year plan, master plan for the way the roads are going to work as well. You know, this is a very important district with transportation because you have 75 and 575 within the district, and you also have 20, which is very cumbersome at times. So it's a very fair question. Now, with regards to funding, that's where we have to go back as responsible senator and look at the budget, see what's going on, see where this money's being spent, and that's where it comes to audits as well. And we're not doing that either. We need to start from a zero-based budget. So these are all things that, it's a very long-winded answer for your question for transportation, but the reality too is that on extra taxes that are, whether it's a penny tax or anything like that, there needs to be a sunset to it, A, to make the citizens feel more comfortable that this isn't just going to get put back into the general budget and, earmarked for next year because it's guaranteed, but we do have a master plan working with this funds and with anything down the road saying that this isn't just a short answer for the funds for today, but we have a plan for tomorrow.
Thank you. Question of transportation to Mr. Pullen.
It's another easy one like the sales tax, isn't it? There are no easy answers, you know. As far as the district is concerned, it goes back to bringing those quality jobs in. If more people could work at home and get paid well or work near home, then we would take a lot of traffic off the interstate. Now, you know, these interstates that we've mentioned, that was our solution 30 years ago, and it probably helped at that time. Is the solution to broaden those, or is the solution to use more, high-speed rail or something like that? All of that costs a lot of money, and also we've gotten so landlocked today that it's hard to expand those roads and put those rail systems in. But you know, one of the things that we don't mention is freight. You know, there's a lot of those big trucks on the road. You know, maybe we need some public-private partnerships to set up railheads like in Savannah, Brunswick, Atlanta, and have a piggyback system so we can take some of these tractor trailers off the road, and we can bring stuff from the port of Savannah and Brunswick and take back there, and also maybe avoid having the trucks on 75 and 575.
All right. And question of transportation to you, Mr. Niesman.
I think these T-Splosh type, well, in come election time, when you pose one of these questions, they generally fail. And part of that is